Hi, Lisa. How are you?
Good. I'm good. How are you, Nicolette?
I am good myself. Thank you so much for saying yes to be interviewed today. For our listeners, my name is Nicolette, and for you, Lisa, I am the creator for the podcast titled You're Worthless. Read that again, the juxtaposition of your very soul. Thank you again, all the way from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, for your time today. And I would like to read a bit of your introduction
Mhm.
for our listeners before we get right into the conversation. So, hello everyone. We have Lisa Lewis here with us. Having been on a healing journey herself, Lisa knows what's it like to overcome overwhelm and grow in ways that positively impact relationships. Her 20 plus years of education, training, and life experience have equipped her to help others in their healing and growth. Lisa is dually licensed in California as a licensed marriage and family therapist and a licensed professional clinical counselor. Over the past 11 years, Lisa has had extensive training learning about the body mind connection. She also holds 3 certificates in Transpersonal Energy Healing, as well as level 2 Reiki certification. Her role in the field of psychology today revolves around her therapy practice and work in her community. She sees patients in her Pasadena office or virtually in online therapy or phone therapy. Typically, she addresses issues related to being a highly sensitive person, a parent, or an individual struggling with depression, anxiety, or stress. Wow, 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 wow. That's a lot to unpack. But I love it.
Wow.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me on.
So Lisa, before we go straight into the nitty-gritty of things, can you share with us what was it like growing up as a Lisa Lewis?
But Lewis is my married name. So when you say
Ah, okay.
Lisa Lewis, that's not who I was growing up. I was Lisa
Okay.
Galan.
Ah,
So,
okay.
yeah, I grew up in a middle class family. My dad worked. He was a firefighter his whole life, and I have an older brother, 2 years older. And so we grew up middle class family, provided for by was provided by my parents. They worked really hard to give us what we wanted. Had a public education. I was the first one in my family to go to college, graduate, and then I actually went back after having kids to get my master's and to do what I'm doing today. So this is actually my second career as a therapist.
Wow. May
Yeah.
I know what was your first career?
So my first career was working in television news. I went to school and studied journalism, and then I worked in the field of TV news and TV sports for about, I don't know, 7 to 10 years before I had kids. And then I decided to stay home and have raise my children. And then knowing that I wanted to go back and go back to work, but I wanted to go back to work in the way that I felt was I was giving. And I didn't really feel that so much in television news. So I just didn't feel that I was really giving anything. So now I do feel that sense of connection and like my purpose in life. So yeah.
Hmm, I love that. I can resonate because I too just moved out of my corporate job, 9 to 5. So before it was accounting and finance, and right now also jumping into the space of psychology, which is hypnotherapy and life coaching. Of course, I'm still very, very early in the process. And I've interviewed so many people who made the jump. And I think one common theme that I can gather from everybody is that trust the process. You'll get there.
Yes, for sure. Yes,
Um, so Lisa, do you consider yourself as a highly sensitive person?
I do. And I didn't really know that about myself until it was like very recently. I think even it was before the pandemic, so maybe around 2019, 2018. Just doing the work that I do, I knew I was sensitive, but then when I started learning about the term highly sensitive person, who was that term was coined by Dr. Elaine Aron, and she did all the research about it, written the books, and now there's more people doing that research and learning more about the trait. It is a personality trait. It's something that you're born with. It's not a mental health disorder. And the more that I understand about it, the more that I understand about myself and how I kind of function in the world and really know more about my needs and wants, being able to express those needs and wants.
What is a highly sensitive person, if you could share with us? What is that? What are traits?
Yeah, so the four common traits, there's an acronym that Dr. Aaron coined. It's DOES, does. And the first one is, now I'm like blanking on, on the does, on the D. Let me go over the first, there's like overstimulation. We get highly overstimulated, so we need time to take breaks to calm our
Mm-hmm.
nervous system. We have a lot of empathy, like emotional responsivity. And so we're that empathetic person. We know, like, we can really feel what other people are feeling and empathize with them. Sometimes we take it on.
Yeah.
Or we don't want to, or we don't realize that we're doing that. And the other one is like a sensitivity to subtleties. So that can be the five senses, noise, taste, hearing, touch, smell. That so doesn't mean some people are really sensitive in one of the five senses, and they might not be highly sensitive at all. That might be something else inside. It could be like a physical or a medical condition too. So just differentiating between those two.
Highly sensitive person. Hmm. It's super interesting. I've heard that term being thrown around the last couple of years as well. Now that I'm in the psychology space, a lot of people probably they don't know until they go to a therapist and say that why am I don't know. I am saying this is because I have a sister and I think I mean she hasn't gone and nobody has said that she's a high sensitive but she's always said that she's super sensitive. So anything you say to her, she'll internalize it. But at the same time, like if I just meant A, but she would over yeah, or probably overthink it or just yeah, but there are how do you now I think my next question is how do you as a therapist or as somebody that has family members or friends that we know or exhibit those kind of traits, how do we deal with them?
So how do you deal with them?
Yeah.
Well, really, it's really coming back to you and how did you deal with yourself? How do you want to show up with people, whether they're sensitive, whether they're not sensitive, they don't show any empathy. It's really how you show up. And so I always bring it back to you and not the other person. And if you do have someone in your life that you might think is highly sensitive and they don't realize it, it's coming. Highly sensitive people deep conversation. They don't like surface level that bores them to death. So if you can just be really you, be authentic, because they can really feel that too when someone's not being authentic. So just being yourself, being honest with yourself, being honest with them, and showing up with really lots of caring, listening. Because if you're not listening or you're pretending you're listening, they'll know it. And they'll just like, I'm not going to talk to you
Anymore.
anymore.
Just
I
cut
hope
you
that you're
off.
still talking to your sister.
Yeah, but we had gotten into some fights. But just recently, like just last year was like the biggest one by far. But I made it a point to apologize immediately, but it took her a few months to just come back and talk to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really did. Yeah, I hurt her. So, and I apologize, and we're good now. It's just the two of us in the family. I mean, as in besides my parents. So, and I love her. To that, I told that I want us to fix this. No. Right, Lisa, can you share with us about your healing journey?
Yeah, so my healing journey began in my 40s. I'm actually 59, and
No,
yeah.
you do not look a day after. Let me see,
Mhm.
maybe 45.
Yeah. Well, thank you. You're so sweet. Yeah, I will be 60 in September. So, my healing journey began after my kids were born, and it was actually after my third child was born, and I had a home birth, and I was complaining to my midwife, the person that delivered my baby, about my in-laws because I've had like a tumultuous relationship with my in-laws, my husband's parents. And she was like, Lisa, I think you really need to go talk to someone about this. And so I'm like, so she gave me two referrals. She gave me two names of people. And this is before cell phones or anything. So I had it on a piece of paper and I like tucked it away. This is when we still had like physical phone books. And I tucked those names away for 2 years. And something, I don't know, 2 years later, something clicked and I pulled that out. I knew it was time to go start talking to someone. And I made two calls. I made the first call, the person never called me back. The second call, I connected with a woman named Laura Fine, and she, listened to me, wanted to know like what I was coming into like therapy for. And she said, like, well, if you don't choose me, I just wish you like the best on your journey. And it was like that moment, like I knew this was like the person. And so I started working with her. And within like the first few months, I was able to set boundaries with my in-laws, tell them things that I was very resentful about and had never done that with anyone in my life. I was very like avoidant conflict. And so I just remember that feeling of having to face someone like I was going to have to speak my truth, my feelings. And I just remember her saying like, use your I statements, use I statements. So I did. I used my I statements and the build up to that conversation was I thought I was going to throw up. I was like sick to my stomach. Thought I was going to pass out because I have never done anything like this in my life before. And I did it. I said it. Came out the way it came out. I don't even remember everything that I said because I was um, so nervous and crying. And I have to say, it wasn't like really well received. And also, I'm like, that was like so empowering. Like it lifted something off of me that didn't belong to me. And that was like the start of my healing journey. And it just led to one thing to where I actually am today. And going, I got certified in transpersonal energy healing first, then Reiki. And then that set me off to get my master's in marriage and family therapy to become a licensed therapist. So that's how it started. And I was just talking to my husband about this. I'm like, I have to thank your family, as hard as it has been, but that, uh, I guess my relationship with them has set me to where I am today on this journey and really discovering like who I am, who do I want to become, and where I'm still going.
Mm, I felt that.
Well,
I I think I had a not a similar story, but kind of similar in the sense of the starting point of I needed to know who I was after my divorce. So it's like, okay, everything is who am I without this person? And I was chasing some things, I would say the position in my career because that was taught to me like, you know, those things are the ones that's you're gonna be worthy only when you get to a certain when you have something to your name. And oftentimes I always people come up to me and say, Nick, did you regret marrying? Because before there were that some people had already told me like you shouldn't and whatnot, and you're still young. At the time, the decision was correct. The decision was right to me. But it doesn't mean that 20 years later or 2 years later, it's still going to be correct, right? So, I mean, you make the decision based on the moment. So, and I got to know myself better right now. And who would have thought Nicolette would be doing podcasting with somebody from the US? Like, let me see, I got was 2019. That's 2021, 22, 23, 5 years after, and I'm pretty good at it, and I love doing it. So,
That's great.
um, yes, Lisa, how has your own sensitivity been one of your greatest strengths?
That's a good question. And I didn't realize it was a strength until I started doing my own therapy. Because even when I first learned, like, oh no, sensitivity is a strength, and I just like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, what I heard like growing up, and just like, you're too sensitive. I heard that so much.
Get
And
over it.
yeah, so when I
Yeah.
heard those words, it was like a cue to like, okay, shut it down. Like,
Mm.
shut it down. And it is like, it's like shutting me down. And so I've had to come out of that like shell of it's okay to be sensitive, and also know that like sensitivity, like knowing it when you're in your gift of sensitive, and when you're like more in your wound. And that wounding part can be more like the childish part that shows up, that needs maybe emotionally immature, or needs that validation, or needs someone to take care of her. And so just learning about the two. And then when I learned, which one I'm using, I can also ask for my needs to be met too. If I'm feeling sad for myself or a victim or something like that, like what can I do to get myself out of that? Because that doesn't feel good, to be in that role. And it's also not good to be on the receiving end of that from
Mhm.
somebody.
Can you expand a little bit more on the gift and the wounding?
So the gift, I was trained in like transpersonal energy healing, is to work up Barbara Brennan. Um, see, there's lots of people that maybe use a different vocabulary around it. Stephen Kessler, Anadea Judith. So there's in our, as we go through childhood, like there's 5 personality stages, starting from like utero all the way up into like puberty. And these 5 different stages happened at different uh, age periods in our lives. Let's say if we use like the first stage is what we call the leaving pattern. Like something happens in utero, or like maybe up to 6 months of age, where the baby needs to like kind of leave the body, needs to like check out in order to survive. And then they're called like survival patterns, because like the caretaker wasn't able to care for the baby when its needed to be met. The diaper
Mhm.
changed, or just to be held and comforted. Like maybe
Right.
the parent was working, or there's like 3 other kids they're taking care of, or something's going on. The mother is even checked out, even in the womb. And so the baby like learns to like kind of leave the body in order to survive. So that's like the wounding part. But in the gift part is, as you go into adulthood, is like these people are usually like really intelligent, intellectual. They're great like speakers. They're very spiritual. They're great writers. And so that's the gift part of it. So we all have like a gift
Oh.
and a wound. And usually there's one that's one of these survival patterns that we run. We can do all of them, but there's usually one that's really stronger than the rest. And so it's getting to know those, and then recognizing it in yourself when you're in this pattern, and also recognizing when other people in your life are in it. And then it kind of gives you a benchmark or framework or foundation going, oh, like I'm noticing this about this person, and I have these skills to help them so they're not in this wounded part.
Wow, you dropped some truths right there, and I so many lights are flicking in my head right now because I am recognizing certain patterns around me from different people. And it might just be that. Okay, so I know now, I know better right now on how to deal with that later because it starts with me, right? Mm. Thank you for that,
You're
Lisa.
welcome. Yeah.
Now, the good part. How do you learn not to take on everyone else's problem?
Yeah. So that's like, that's a hard one. First off, it's just to recognize that you're taking on everyone else's problem. And yes, I've been really good at doing this. And I have to look at it like if you just step back and look at like a bigger picture of the whole scenario, what purpose is that serving for like me or someone else to want to help somebody else or take on somebody else's problems?
Right.
Because that takes the attention off of me and puts it onto somebody else. And it's going to be easier to try to fix somebody else instead of putting the attention back on me, having to look at me and going, ooh, do I like what I see? Do I not like what I see? And that doesn't feel so good. So
Oh,
now I have to go like, no, I'd rather go do that. Like we all do that in some way, especially like in families and by all those entanglements. So the more that we can just keep coming back, this is something I've really been working on and just recently too, coming back to your own lane. So
ooh,
I like to think of like a street where there's a sidewalk, a street, and another sidewalk on the other side. And you have your side of the sidewalk and someone else that has their side way over there. And when things start happening in your life that are not going so good, and then going, where am I? Wow, like I'm in the street, or you know what? I'm way over there on their side.
mm-hmm.
And why am I over there? Like I need to like come back over to my side. And it's kind of like minding your own business.
Yeah.
And sometimes we want to control what that other person is doing because we don't like what they're doing. And maybe we think we have the answers. We can help them, but they may not even be interested in what we want to say or do or help. Like that
Mm-hmm.
person has to want it for themselves. We can be there. We can say, hey, if you're interested, some
I'm
feedback
here.
for you. I'm
Yeah.
here for you. How can I help? And if they don't want it, that can
You.
be really hard to say, like,
Yes.
ouch.
No. Yeah.
Why don't you want my help?
Yes. Like I can see you're struggling or you're not. And but anyway, I think it's really good for us to also be self-aware and realize and that that they themselves they have to realize it and they have to want to get help or have people maybe talk to people to somebody in regarding their behavior. And you know, I think the best way, I think, if now I'm just talking for me, like friends or family members, like when you are, I don't know if I'm highly sensitive, but I think, yeah, when you said it, so some of the traits I think I have them. But then you become very observant, and sometimes you can think, but it's borderline not to judge as well, I think, and borderline judging and also just observing and just trying to maybe offer your not opinion seems very strong as well, like hey, and but then I think the best way is to emulate what is the best had if they were to do certain things. That is very that is all in, I think, the way you do, because it's energy as well, your field to people, and they can feel it, like it's your aura. And I think you do it, whatever it is as sad to you, you just have this kind of like field to shield you from that, but continue to be kind and to not engage if that's retaliation and any negative reaction from the other party. And it takes maturity, it takes understanding to actually reach that level.
It
It,
does. It sure
yeah.
does.
Yeah. And because I used to be a lot of people come to me, my sister basically. Ning calls me Ning. That's my nickname. It's you've you've definitely changed. I used to be the worst sister ever.
Oh,
I used to be so selfish growing up until life humbled me, and yeah, here I am, understanding it from now. I understood what she felt. She kept on saying this. I was like, what? I'm not doing all of that. But then me saying that, just negating all of it because I didn't want to do the work. I didn't want to shine the spotlight on me. That is everybody has to do that work just to ascend, I think.
yeah.
hmm
Yeah,
Um, do highly sensitive people make great leaders, Lisa?
they sure do. They sure do. And they do. And even the research shows it. Highly sensitive people make up 20 to 30% of the population. And there's half are men and half are women.
Okay,
And
that's good.
so,
These are the
yeah.
healers.
And so as a highly sensitive person, if you look like just in, give me an example of just like mammals. So there's like herd mentality, like in different animals live together in herds.
Yeah.
And so in that herd, 20 to 30% of that herd are what we see the highly sensitive. They are on the perimeter of the herd looking out for danger.
They're the natural protector.
The natural protector. Ooh, I just got chills when you said that.
Ah,
So they alert the herd when there's when there's danger coming. And so they have that natural ability to step outside like the circle and look at the bigger picture. They're not like tunnel vision, they're not focused, honed on, which we need those people too, right? Those are like the scientists that create,
Yeah.
new things. So the highly sensitive on the outside the perimeter, looking out for danger. And so that's how they make great leaders, great mediators, because they can
No.
listen to that side, not take a side, and come bring the people together so they can
Mm.
hear so that's that depth of processing they can hear and they can take it really deep and kind of just take it, assimilate it in, and then decipher it out.
According to the audience.
Yeah. Well, of course, so yeah, so they can hear it, right? So they're attuned to who they're
Mhm.
talking to.
Yeah. So I knew it was a strength. I knew it. Okay. Please talk about this is me, that is you when it comes to setting an energetic boundary.
Yeah, so this is me, that is you. That's an exercise I love teaching to clients. This is so if I were to demonstrate it, keeping one hand out in front of you. So the distance between your body and the end of your hand, this is you, right? And it goes on a complete circle around your body. And on the other side of my hand, that is you. So that all that over there belongs to you. This all in here belongs to me.
Right.
So when we're in conversation with somebody and they are projecting things at us and we're as a highly sensitive person, we can just really take that into our heart and we feel it, either our heart or our stomach going, ugh.
Yeah, like somebody just punch you.
Yeah, like
Stab
shot,
you. Yeah.
stabbed you, shot an arrow. And
hmm
sometimes if we don't know that about ourselves, not only are we carrying everybody else's stuff and our own, and that's like heavy, and then that's overwhelming, and that can lead to anxiety, depression, right? That overwhelming feeling. And we're also good caretakers. There is that empathetic part that comes in, is that we love to take care of people. And so it's like, here, I'll hold that sadness for you. I'll hold that blame for you. I'll hold it. I'll hold it. I'll hold it. and plus our own stuff. And then again, it's too much. So we have to learn how to push all that out of our energetic boundary, give it back, just give it back to whoever it belongs to. You won't even have to know what it is. Give it back, give it back. And so we have this really clean and clear energetic boundary field around ourselves. And then we can differentiate between what does my energy feel like compared to somebody else's. And then you realize when you get really grounded, centered, and you realize when, like, what is that? Like something just entered my field, my energetic boundary, and I don't like it, or I like it, or it doesn't belong to me. I don't have to take that. Like I can just put this, I like to say, a Teflon shield around me that protects me, protects my energy, but I can also, I get to decide what I want to let in and what I want to keep out. It's not a wall that blocks me from everything. I get to decide. I get to make the choice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's
So
a
that
reminder.
this is me, that is you.
So any time you think that whatever that you're saying and somebody's saying hurtful things or things that are harsh and you know it's not true about you or about something else, because you can just get reaction not when they're talking about you, you can also get reaction when they're talking about somebody else or something else that you know it's not true or there's other sides to it. So remaining calm. Okay.
That's a great question. I love teaching that. And I can also talk about, so even in protection, when you're in a difficult conversation with somebody, and so this our front side, where our heart is and our stomach, this is what we call in energy work. This is our emotional side, right? We feel everything in the heart. The back side is the will side. That's what gets us up out of bed in the morning. We take a shower, eat, go to work, do all that. That's our will side. So when we're having a hard conversation with someone, we want to protect our front side, our emotional side. And so you can do that by like wearing something, a sweater or jacket over, to remind yourself that you're protecting your heart, your stomach. You can wear like a scarf. You can turn sideways, so it's not directed right at you, but it's going by you. It's going right by you. So these are like little subtlety things that we can do. Like even if you're at your work and you have to give a presentation, or you're on a Zoom call and like everyone's staring at you, like you can do things to really energetically protect you. So you're not taking that all in.
So in the context of a couple, husband and wife, and they're having it when they're fighting, what do they do? Like, do they stand sideways like this? Or
Well, like the best part of having an argument or talking a difficult conversation is actually going for a walk, right? And you're side by side.
because your eyes are there, but you're hearing it. It's here.
Right.
You're seeing other things, and you're walking. You're
Yeah.
exercising other muscles.
Yeah. And you're not directly in front of that person and making all that eye contact and trying to figure out what what are they thinking and doing and all that. You're just having this side by side conversation where you just be more at ease.
I love that. I'm gonna apply that to my life. Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah.
So, Lisa, what is next for you?
That's a good question. I'm actually about to announce a women's retreat. I'm going to be holding my first women's retreat in just north of Santa Barbara, California. It's going to be a four nights, 5 days at the beautiful El Capitan Canyon. It's glamping, and it's called She Rise. So it's going to be about restoring, rejuvenating, and renew. And it's going to be a small, intimate retreat for 9 women to come together for 4 nights, 5 days, and do some work together, and really coming together in community and just supporting each other. So that's what's next. That's what's next for me.
I just have this feeling of some overwhelming feeling of wow, like that is something. Like I definitely have that in the pipeline as well. Just wanna rally some women together. And I wanna have them in Costa Rica and whatnot, but I haven't figured out the details yet. But
Mhm.
it would be nice. That's nice. Not having so many people because so many will your your attention will be diverted,
Yeah.
and then small intimate people would be like more to one. You
Yeah.
really work with each of them.
Yeah. And this is my first one, so I wanted to have it small, so not out of control or too many people not knowing how to manage that. And also, I've been to the location many times, so I'm very familiar with it and working with
Uh,
the land. And it's right on the beach, on the ocean.
ooh,
So it's very
oh,
like spiritual place too.
I love that. When would this be?
So it's October 31st through November 4th of this year, 2024.
November, October to November. Okay. I mean, it's a month after I'm there, but
I know.
who knows? Next year.
Yeah. Darn it.
Yes. Well, so I'm gonna pivot to a self-worth question because well, my podcast talks a lot about self-worth. So the question for you, Lisa, many people struggle with feelings of inadequacy despite their achievements. What
Mhm.
advice would you give to someone experiencing imposter syndrome in a high pressure environment?
Mm, that's a great question. So, being a perfectionist myself and a high achiever, and there's nothing. So that's the gift side of it, right? Perfectionism and high achiever, and there's also like the wounding side of it, where how are you spending all your time, and what is it about these achievements that what is it doing for you? Is it
Mm,
actually getting you what you want? Is it getting you like the relationships you want? Maybe it's getting you the status, the money that you want, but is that actually fulfilling to you? So recognizing there's nothing wrong, I think, about being a high achiever and um, to surround yourself with other people that have that same type of energy or synergy, and also
mm,
know that don't make it into a competition, but really be intentional why you are doing what you're doing. And is it
yeah.
really serving a healthy purpose for you?
Mm,
And I know, like for me, I had to recognize, it comes back down to really basic unconditional love and conditional love. And that conditional love, like I need to, even as a kid, like if I do this for you, for mom and dad, like they will love me. So I'm going to keep doing this thing. What I'm really seeking is some kind of love. And right,
mhm.
kids will get love. They'll do whatever they can to get conditional love, positive love, negative love, some type of attention.
Yeah, and I think you're right. There's nothing wrong with being an overachiever
Mm-mm.
because you're just trying to better yourself than you were yesterday. I think that's the best way to put it because I thought before that overachieving, but in a toxic way, of course, is going to be detrimental to me. But then I went to the other side of the scale, like not wanting to do anything at all because what is life like? What is the point of all of this? But then you're gonna come back to the middle
Mhm.
because we're still living here on this 3D plane. We still have to pay bills. You still have to get up. Really understanding yourself, like doing the work, I would say. Yeah.
That's
Hmm.
it. I mean, what you said, the scale, right? The scale tips this way, one way, and it comes
Yeah.
back the other way. And it's finding that balance. What works for me, right?
Hmm.
So I'm not doing this for somebody else, but I'm really what am I doing? Why am I doing this for me?
Yeah. Thank you for that, Lisa.
And like I say, you've done the work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, when you
pretty
can talk about
proud of
it and when
myself.
you can ask questions about it, you've done the work.
Thank you.
Hey, well,
I'm pretty. Yeah, I feel pretty proud of myself, okay, because nobody can do it for you. Only you can do it. Yeah. What is your heart's greatest wish, Lisa?
What was that question again?
What is your heart's greatest wish?
My heart's greatest wish is to have my oldest son back in my life again. And when you ask me that, I'm crying because that's what my heart cries for that. It's like sad about it. And like, have you ever had something taken out of your life that you didn't want to be taken out of your life? And you realize how much you miss that person or that thing? And that's when you have to take a look at your life and make the changes in your life to allow for that person to see the changes that I think you've made. Or like I'm talking about my son. So I'm hoping, I want in due time that he does see that.
Thank you for being so vulnerable. And I apologize. I didn't know.
Thank you. And I thank you, Nicolette, for giving me the space to say it out loud. Because when you say it out loud, it puts it out into the universe. And I believe when you put things out in the universe, I don't have to hold it in. I can let it fall where it needs to fall or land.
You're very well. When you said it, I had just chills all over my body. Sending all my love and light to your way, Lisa, and your family. Do you have a mantra that you live by?
I don't really do. I don't think I have a mantra. I use a lot of mantras. I like the Ho'oponopono Hawaiian prayer.
Ho'oponopono.
Yeah, Ho'oponopono. That's Hawaiian prayer. I like to say that to myself.
Is there anything that keeps you up at night, or do you sleep well?
Sometimes, like issues with my family keeps me up at night, and sometimes I sleep well. I'm trying to sleep better, like regulating my nervous system just to have that calming down. Yeah.
If you could create a quote right now for you to leave to the audience listening and the world as your legacy, what would it be?
Love yourself no matter what. Love yourself more than anyone would ever love you, because loving yourself gives others a chance to love you back.
What a great way to start my day.
That's a great way to end my day.
So Lisa, how can people reach out to you?
So they can, I'm on the web. I have my own, my website is lisalewiscounseling.com. I'm on social media at Hands of Light is my IG, and also Sensitive in Nature is my podcast. So you can reach me on all the different podcast platforms. I have a website for Sensitive in Nature, sensitiveinnature.com, and also on Instagram. So that's how they can find me.
Thank you. And there you have it, guys. You heard it from the person herself, Lisa Lewis. Lisa, before we close off, I'd like to thank you personally for the work that you're doing for the world and for advancing every step of the way despite the challenges, creating trails for those that will come after you. And for our listeners, this has been that one podcast with that controversial name, You're Worthless. Read that again, the juxtaposition of your very soul. Now, if you find yourself thinking that you are worthless, you're probably not alone. But more importantly, ask yourself a level deeper. If I'm worthless, then why the heck am I here? It is because your soul have chosen to be here energetically all the way from the ethers, and for that reason itself, you are worthy and you are enough. This has been Lisa Lewis, your guest of the day, and Nick Nieras, your host, signing off. Thank you so much, Lisa, for your time.
Thank you, Nicolette. Glad to be here.